welcome all of you to this office. Honorable Mr. Leto has been asking me to launch the office. So, I decided that today let us launch the office. But first of all, let me say that this office is one of the most vibrant offices in Parliament. And I know that the previous office holders have been engaging you more robustly during the budget making process. But I think this is going to be the first engagement that I have with you. And first of all, let me ask you that we work together as an office. And secondly, to say that we have come to the, basically we are starting the budget process for 2025-2026. As you are aware, the estimates were presented to Parliament 2 weeks ago by the executive. And so the estimates are with us. And over the last 2 weeks, various departmental committees have been engaging with the government agencies so that they can be able to finalize the estimates before being presented to my committee. So from tomorrow, my committee will begin sitting and will be listening to departmental committees on their estimates that they want us to approve. So I would like to ask the members of the media to join us starting tomorrow as we begin to go through the figures. But let me first of all say that I am very happy to address you and to say that this is a responsibility that I'm very ready for. As you're aware, I've been in budget committee over the years since I joined Parliament in 2017. And so I'm very much conversant with the budget process. And so my commitment, as I've said before, is that we are going to have a different way of doing budget, where we are going to have a budget that addresses critical issues of the economy, issues that affect the ordinary lives of Kenyans. But more importantly, this budget process is going to ensure that we have equity in the budget making process. In the past, budget committee has been accused of running a sectarian budget or unfair budget. But my commitment to you is that as you will come before us, you will see that we are going to have a budget that is going to address all aspects, all Kenyan needs, all regions, all ethnic groups. And so that's the first commitment I wanted to give you. I also wanted to highlight to you some of the issues that are under discussion as we are going through the budget. One of the issues that you are aware is being discussed more is the fact that the economy continues to borrow. Each and every year, the economy continues to borrow, and public debt has become a concern for many people, and especially lawmakers, policymakers. I wanted to share that budget and fiscal deficit are things that must go together. There is no budget, there is no economy that is running a budget that is 100% funded. Any economy, any household must be able to borrow for them to fund budgets. And therefore, I want to dissuade Kenyans that borrowing is going to be part and parcel of a budget making process. But something that I need to highlight is that over the years, especially in the previous regime engaged in one-ton borrowing, so that by the time this new regime came into office, we were talking about budget deficits of 8%, fiscal deficit of 8% to GDP. If you check your records properly, you realize that in 2020, 2021 financial year, 2022, 2023 financial year, we were handling a budget deficit of up to 8%. But since this new regime came into force, this deficit has been coming down substantially. And in this financial year, we are talking about a budget deficit of, fiscal deficit of 4.5%. So if you follow up, if you want to track that progress in fiscal deficit, you see that we have come down by about 4%. So I wanted to tell Kenyans that this is very progressive, extremely progressive, because it means that now we are trying to live within the boundaries of our means. We want to run an economy where we can basically fund most of our needs from our own resources. I think that is the reason why we are seeing the deficit substantially coming down. Then another issue that I wanted to address is the mismanagement of the economy. You are aware that the previous regime basically mismanaged this economy. One of the areas that this economy was mismanaged is the fact that a lot of money was borrowed, which was not used for development. From 2013 to 2022, we borrowed more than 8 trillion. But over the same period, amount of money that was spent on development was less than half of that, because every financial year we were spending about 500 billion towards development. If you do that in 10 years, you will have spent only 5 trillion in development. But the amount of money borrowed was about 8 trillion. So that means there was mismanagement of the economy. The other issue that happened is that so many projects were started, especially in the road sector, and some of these projects could not be funded. In the end, when the new regime came into force, we were addressing projects. We were having projects that had stalled. Contractors had gone to court. They were suing the government for interest and for breach of contract. And so the road sector basically is one of the sectors that has stagnated since the new regime came into force. And when we were looking at the sectors that are going to support the growth of this economy, we identified construction as one of the sectors that will help us to grow the economy. But looking at the pending bills in that sector, we realized that the pending bills in that sector was choking and therefore was affecting the growth of the economy and the construction performance of the construction sector. Therefore, the government decided in its wisdom to look for ways in which they were going to address this particular issue. And one of the ideas which to me was masterstroke, wise counsel, and genius, the idea of securitization of a section of road maintenance levy fund, which I want us to talk about. That idea to me, as I said, was masterstroke. Because if we continue with the trajectory that we are going on, then we are going to accumulate more pending bills in the sector, road sector. We are going to have that sector stagnating, and that is one of the sectors that we are hoping to help us grow the economy. So the government was going to get to a stage where the government was going to stall. The economy was going to stall. So when this idea was mooted by this regime, most of us felt that this was one of the best ideas that was going to help us address those challenges. Unfortunately, some members of parliament, some opposition leaders think that this is one of the scandals that they are talking about. So I want to address this particularly and say that before this idea was brought, there was sufficient consultation. I want to take issue with my predecessor because my predecessor is saying that this is one of the scandals in the making. So I want to say that this idea was mooted when the former chairman of Budget Appropriations Committee, my brother Nyoro, was the chairman here. And he was one of the people who participated in conceiving this idea. He supported it. And as I believe today, and as he believed then, that this idea was going to help us resolve the challenges we're having in the sector, as I've explained. And therefore, I take issue with him for recently proclaiming himself that this securitization of RLMF is also a scandal and is going to confer and increase the borrowing portions that this country economy is not able to manage. I want to say this for two reasons. One, I have looked at the performance of the resources that have been achieved from securitization of RMLF. And to date, as you're aware, because you are Kenyans, you know that contractors, most of them have gone back to the sites that they had abandoned over 1 year ago. Because we have done negotiations with the contractors, and some of them have agreed, actually most of them have agreed, first of all, to waive interest that they were charging on their balances. They did that, up to 40%. The other issue is that they have gone back and they have said that they're not going to stop work because we are hoping that as we raise more resources from RMF, these funds is going to be used to complete these projects. So I want to challenge my predecessor that you need to give us a better reason why you think this method of jump-starting this sector is unworkable. But from where I think, my view is that I think one of the reasons we are against this is because of the manner in which, the transparent manner in which this process is being done, and the fact that the resources that are being realized from securitization of RLMF is being spent equitably across the country. We have had a budget office where, as I've told you, budget is not shared equitably. You know, budget goes to one section of the country. I want to say that under my leadership, because I'm also presiding over the distribution of these resources, the RLMF resources are being shared equitably. All contractors across the country have gone back to their sites, because everybody is receiving the resources the resources are meant for Kenyan projects. So I wanted to challenge my brother Ndindi Nyoro that please, we beseech you to run away from tribal bigotry in the sharing of natural resources. It cannot be about one tribe, it cannot be about one region. Allow the country to move on by embracing equitable sharing of public resources so that every part of this region can benefit, because this country belongs to all of us. I also want to add that in this financial year alone, we are going to spend about 1 trillion in interest payment for public debt. 1 trillion. 1 trillion. This is a substantial amount of money. It has never been spent before. Now, look at the amount of resources that we are going to, that would have been used to address the challenges we have in the education sector, in the health sector. Had Uhuru Kenyatta not mismanaged this economy, we would not be talking about 1 trillion being payment to interest payment. So even when people, challenge us, when people challenge us and people challenge the government to show what they are doing with public resources, we want to challenge them, especially the people who are in government, the previous regime, that please, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should come and tell us, if you borrowed 10 trillion, what did you do with that 10 trillion? And because we are now collecting resources, which we are supposed to spend the resources in development of the economy, in the health sector, Today alone, I have received about 600 SMSs from UHT staff that are asking me to provide resources for their confirmation. We cannot do this because we are spending all these resources in payment of interest on public debt. So I think these are the cracks of the matter in budgeting, in terms of budgeting for this financial year. And it is important for Kenya to know that this is this position where we are. We want people to criticize us positively, without tribal bigotry, without ethnicizing leadership. We want people to be broad, in the way you think about the country. And I think this is a challenge I wanted to give my brother Ndindi Nyoro. Please be broad in the way you think about the country. The fact that you are no longer the chairman of budget does not mean that you want to throw mud at everything that was done, even when you are here as the chairman, and you willingly put your signature on them. You supported them publicly, and you said these projects are good, these programs are good for the country. Therefore, members, this is really the message I wanted to give you, unless somebody has a question.
Chairman.